Here we are, Thursday, March 14th, 2024. I'm Larissa. In my video diary. I should go get some exercise today. But it's like, what's the point, right? What's the point? Besides, I'd rather just finish what I'm working on in the studio. Right? Got through my asana practice yesterday, which was good because I'm hurting real bad. And I had this most recent tick bite that I got. Was it last week now? I told Mama last night, I said, I think I have Lyme. I think I do. And I think I've had it for a few years now. And my joints hurt so goddamn bad. Yeah. Last night for dinner, I put into a corningware dish a bunch of vegetables. So basically, I made stewed Brussels sprouts. It was like a stew, you know. I had Brussels sprouts and celery and onion and carrot and tomato and potato and then TVP and then herbs and spices. So it was basically just like it was like vegetable, kind of like a vegetable soup, kind of, but it wasn't soupy, right? It's just like roasted vegetables and the TVP. TVP, it's a good product, and so I'm almost like, well, what is this? What is the TVP? It's like, well, texturized vegetable protein, and so there's a couple of different things that can be called texturized vegetable protein. One is soy derivative. So the product that I bought that we had last night was a soy derivative, so it's basically dehydrated um, tofu, right? Where they cut the they drain and cut the tofu, and then um, dehydrate it, and then you reconstitute it with some water, and then you can um, use it, right? I've also seen TVP, texturized vegetable protein, that's been made out of gluten. And I've seen TVP that's made out of texturized vegetable protein. It's made out of pea protein. So there's a few different products that can be classified called texturized vegetable protein. That's what we had last night. Yeah, I hurt real bad. Fluffernutters out there cockadoodle doing, and I did not. I hurt so bad. I was having trouble getting comfortable last night, and I didn't sleep well. I didn't sleep well. Part of it, this bed, this mattress we have, oh, it's awful. It was real firm, like for the first month that we had it. When we bought it, because it was like supposed to be extra firm mattress, and it was great. That first month that we had it, it was great. But then it's like didn't take that long. Fibers all broken down. So now it's like I feel like I'm laying in a shallow grave. When I make the bed, you can see the two dips on either side. And I just feel like I'm laying in a shallow grave, and it like rolls my shoulders. Like if I lay on my back, it rolls my shoulders forward. So it's more comfortable if I lay on my front because then it pushes my shoulders back, right? But laying on your stomach has other issues all night, right? So it's hard for me to get comfortable. Yeah. And then when I did finally fall asleep, I had an awful, crazy fucking dream. So It was a lucid dream. It was a lucid dream. Oh, I don't like these kinds. So I'm in the dream, and in the dream, I'm on the couch downstairs, right? But the room is a little bit different, but it's my downstairs here. And like I'm aware of being in my house and in my living room. The room was just shaped a little different. That's all right. Like um the couch was oriented different. Like the couch was oriented looking out the window as opposed to with the back of the couch towards the big fireplace. So I wake up on the couch in the dream and I recognize immediately that, oh, this isn't really happening. This is a dream. I'm like, oh. And I'm like touching my clothes and my clothes are all on weird. And it's like I have this pair of sweatpants on, but it's a really big pair of sweatpants and the material's really thin and kind of like flimsy. And when I'm looking at it, I'm like, why am I having trouble? It's like it's a pair of sweatpants for somebody who's enormous, and I have both of my legs in one leg of the sweatpants, right? And the other leg of the sweatpant is like hanging off and it's kind of torn. And I'm like, what is going on? And I'm trying to talk and I can't talk. And I realize that there's something like over my face. There's like this, it's like this, I don't know, it was like fabric, but it was like stuck to my face. Like I had this fabric like all stuck on my face. And so I'm trying to pull it like down off of me. And I'm like touching myself and I feel bruised. And I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like, I think I've been assaulted. Right? Like, I feel I'm touching my legs and everything, and I'm like, oh, I'm all bruised and there's cuts, and I'm realizing I've been assaulted, and so like I finally get up, and these clothes are just like that are on me aren't they're not my I'm looking at them like these aren't even I'm like where are these clothes from? These aren't even my clothes, and I'm like oh they must have where are my clothes and like I'm having these and I've had this experience before. I mean a couple times I've been drugged and woken up and been dressed other than what I was when I before I was drugged, right? It's a little disconcerting. It's a disconcerting feeling and recognizing when you recognize that oh somebody's been so intimate with me that they've put different clothes on my body and it's like well what happened to the other clothes what happened to my body that it was just it's this awful feeling. It's this awful, awful feeling. So I'm having this feeling in the dream and I'm getting up and I'm trying to like arrange myself in such a way that I can move freely. And I'm listening around in the house trying to hear if there's anybody if whoever did this to me is still around and I'm starting to feel afraid. And then I go and I open the front door and there's a young woman there and she's like, "We heard what happened to you and we're here to help." And I'm like, what? And so she comes in the house and she's holding up her cell phone to my face and there's this guy and it's like I'm FaceTiming with this guy and he's got all these tattoos on his face and he's got two different color contacts in his eyes. He's real creepy looking. He looks like crazy cracked out ICP or something, insane clown posse kind of thing. But it's tattoos on his face, not makeup. And I'm like, and he's like, "I've seen all I need to see." And she puts a phone in her pocket, and, like, there's all these other people all of a sudden. And they all come in, they're like, "Don't worry, this is gonna be okay." And these are all, like, pretty scary looking dudes, right? Like, but they're being, like, really, really nice to me. And they're like, "What they did to you is terrible." And there's one guy, like he's missing teeth in the front, and he's got tattoos all up his neck and everything. And he puts his arm around me, and I'm all hesitant. He's like, "Don't worry." He's like, "I am not gonna hurt you. I'm not gonna hurt you. You've been hurt enough." That's what this guy's saying to me. And he's like, "We're gonna keep you safe. This is not gonna happen to you anymore." It was and I'm like, "Who are you?" I'm like, like, "We are not gonna call the police. He says, 'Don't worry, we're gonna take care of this one ourselves.'" He's like, "We're gonna get him." And I'm like and I can't see myself or anything, and so I go back over and I sit down on the couch, and this guy sits next to me, and there's like all these people in my living room, and they're like discussing, how they're going to go about catching this guy, and I don't even know who this guy is that they're talking about, but it's like I'm becoming more and more aware that something really horrible has been done to me, and like these people who are frightening are who look very frightening are being very, very, very protective and gentle with me, and it was just very, very odd, right? And in the dream, like I decide, like this guy that doesn't have any tattoos on him at all, he comes over, and he sits down on the other side of me. So there's the guy with the tattoos who was missing the teeth who's sitting to my left, and this other guy comes over, he sits down next to me. And there's the young woman that has her phone, and a couple other young women talking with her, and this guy comes in and sits next to me, and he goes, "Don't worry." He's like, "We're going to take care of this, and then you're going to be with us for 10 years, and then you can go and do whatever you want." And I'm like, 10 years? I'm like, I don't know how I feel about that. He's like, "Don't worry. You won't have to do anything you don't want to do." And I'm like, and then he gets up and he walks out the front door. And I look over at the guy who is next to me, and he just nods his head. And I leaned over into his shoulder and started to cry, and he started to cry too. And then I woke up, and it was such a odd, it was such a weird feeling. Like all the horrible things that have been done to me, and no one has ever looked for justice for me, right? I most certainly have been treated like I was the person who committed these awful things, right? As opposed to the person who's had awful things done to them. I've definitely been treated like, I was the garbage. Like, I was the one at fault for. It was just so weird in this dream. That was what was so disconcerting. Was like I was aware of having been attacked, and there was somebody who was being gentle with me. I've never had that experience in real life. And that's what's upsetting for me right now. It's like in the dream, it was this like cognitive dissonance because these people who looked like people you should be afraid of were being so good to me. It was such an odd dream. Sometimes I wake up from dreams and I cry. Usually I cry after I get to see my grandma, but because I miss her. It's hard. It's really hard. When I found the puncture wounds that time when I was attacked, when I was drugged and attacked, and when I woke up and I had the broken blood vessels in my face and stuff, I didn't find the puncture wounds on my hip right away. It wasn't until like a day later that I found them, and it was the next day. It was the next day that I found them, and it was so scary. I was standing in the shower, and I had showered the day before, but my body was kind of numb. I guess is what the issue was because I washed myself. I was in the shower the next day, and I had the washcloth, and when I got to washing over my left butt cheek, right, like over my hip, it hurt. And I was like, "Ooh, what is that?" And that's when I found them. And as I pulled the washcloth away, like when as I rubbed the washcloth over the area, something fell out of it and it made like a metallic sound when it hit the bathtub floor, right, in the shower. And I tried to reach down to grab it, but it went down the drain, whatever it was. It was round. And it rolled out. Like, I don't know if I got shot in the ass with a BB gun. I don't. The hole would have gone deeper if that's what it was. This was, but and it was smaller than a BB. I don't. But I could see it. It was this small round metallic thing, and it was heavy, and it made us an audible sound like when it fell out. And I was just talking about it. I could feel that spot on my left hip area. I was so scared. I mean, like, not only had I been violated, but there was something still in my body. Like, it was, and nobody helped me. Nobody helped me. It took me 5 or 6 days to muster the courage to go down to the police station. And then when I did, I was treated like I was crazy. And there was this woman who was there who like I felt like she followed me there. And when the police were talking to me, it was like right there out in the lobby. And I was there for hours. They brought over like four different police officers and they all asked me questions, like the same questions, just like in different order. And like, so this woman, she was wearing this brown tweed blazer and a white t-shirt and um like well-fitting blue jeans and like lace-up Oxford shoes. And I had seen her before. I had seen her at the cotton mill. I'd seen her at Allison Walton's float gallery. I'd seen her there before. I recognized this one, which was why I was a little worried when she like came in like 10 minutes after I got there. Just before, so when I went to the police station, I went up to the counter. They told me to go sit down, and wait, and somebody would come out and see me. And this woman came in like a minute before two officers approached me. There was a blonde female officer and a male with short dark hair. They were the first two that came up to talk to me. And this woman, she kept walking back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. She came in just like I said, just before they approached me, and she was kept looking at me out of the side of like giving me side eye, watching me, and she was listening to everything that they were asking me and telling me. And I told these officers, I said, I'm very uncomfortable. I said, that woman there, I said, I recognize her. I said, I think she followed me here. And they were like, oh, really? And they were talking to me like I was hallucinating. And it was a very strange experience. And like I was very frightened. And I told them, I have a wound on my left rump. That's what I told how I said it's my left rump, like you would stick an animal with a tranquilizer dart or something. I said I have two puncture wounds. I said, do you want to see them? And um they're like, no, we don't need to see them. I'm like, are you sure? I said, is there a room we could go into where I'm not out here in front of all of these people? Because there were all of these people, like it was really busy. There were all these people and that were standing in line to talk to the desk, and this was down at the 7th Street station. And then those two cops, they said, well, I said, I have to go to the bathroom. And they said, okay. So they let me go to the bathroom. When I went into the bathroom, I took a picture of the wound on my butt. And I took it out. I took it out. And I said, "Here." I said, "Look." I said, "Here's a photo." I said, "I just took this photo now in the bathroom." They're like, "Did you go to the bathroom just to do that?" I said, "No, I had to go to the bathroom, but I decided to take the photo when I was there." And they're like, "We don't need to see it. We told you. Quit showing. That's inappropriate." That's what they told me. It was inappropriate. And then two other cops came over and they talked to the two cops that were talking to me. And then those two cops that were originally talking to me, they walked away and these other two cops were there. And they were like, "Now tell us again what happened." And it was just like I had to repeat this like four or five different times. It's very upsetting. That's what I mean. And then they're like, "Well, do you think you need a mental health advocate?" I'm like, "No." I said I was assaulted, and I'm here to make a report about it. And then they were like, "Do you need to go?" They were they brought over an EMT, and I refused to go with the EMT because the EMT wasn't. I'm like, "Where does an EMT need to take me?" I said, "If I need a doctor's examination in an emergency room," I said, "I'm fine to drive myself." I said, "I drove myself here." It was very upsetting. Very, very upsetting. This is a dream I had last night. It was like somebody being kind to me instead of treating me like garbage. Yeah, yeah, it's the story of my life. Anyway, work on work on these jackets tonight. Today, I guess. I got two more underway. Yeah, try not to think about these things.